Hi, everybody. It's Mrs. K, and I'm in my music room. I'm so glad you're watching. I have a question to ask you. Do you like to win? Duh. Of course I like to win. Everybody likes to win. Why do you like to win? Hmm. Well, winning is sort of like a reward for all the hard work you've done. That's a good answer. Anything else? Um, it's kind of embarrassing. But it's nice to be recognized by other people for all my effort and performance. That is so true. We all feel that way. Well, did you notice there's something behind me? Do you know what those things are called? Trophies. On the top of Pastor Herb's bookshelf, there are 30 trophies. Those awards don't belong to me or to Pastor Herb. They were earned by our daughters, some for fine arts competition, but mostly for softball. Andrea and Amy started playing softball when they were 10 and 8 years old. That's kind of late. A lot of kids start around 6 or 7, but they worked hard. They didn't skip out on practices, and in their own time, they went to batting cages and they fielded balls and they practiced pitching and throwing, and they listened to their coach. In the beginning, because she was younger, Amy was the inexperienced player. So she was put in the outfield. I remember watching a fly ball go out towards center field where she was. I could hardly breathe. Was she going to catch it? She did. And she started celebrating right then and there, jumping up and down in the middle of the ball game. All the parents in the bleachers were laughing. It was cute to see a little girl so excited because she caught her first fly ball ever and got a player on the other team out. But the coach was yelling, "Throw the ball!" She had forgotten that part. When you catch a fly ball, you have a chance to get another out if a base runner hasn't tagged up. Well, the ball teams that the girls played for were really good. They won a lot of games and earned a lot of trophies. At the end of each game, the winning team and the losing team congratulated one another. They'd pass in a long line, clapping hands and saying, "Good game, good game." Was there a reward for the winning team? Oh, you betcha. They got ice cream for free at a local ice cream stand. It was so much fun. Not very often, but sometimes someone from the losing team would get angry and say and do some very inappropriate things. Everyone would look at that person and think, that is a poor loser. In sports, we expect everyone on the field to be gracious, win or lose. Well, in this video lesson about David, we're going to learn that being a good winner is just as important as not being a poor loser. In our last video about David, he learned that his decision to move into enemy territory so he could escape Saul was based on stinking thinking and not believing God's promise that he would be the next king. What looked like a super simple solution turned into a disaster. When David finally began to think clearly, he realized God has been with me all along. So he prayed and asked God for help, and God answered his prayer. Not long after this happened, the Philistines attacked Israel again. It was a fierce battle. Many Israelite soldiers died, including King Saul and Prince Jonathan. When David heard about this, he knew that meant soon he would be king. Did he celebrate? Whooping it up, jumping up and down and high-fiving all the guys in his small army? Not on your life. He was sad. He mourned the loss. The Israelite army had been defeated and suffered the loss of many soldiers. His country had lost its king, Saul, who had been a great warrior. And he, David, had lost his best friend, Prince Jonathan. When some men announced the news to David like he had just won the lottery, he did not tolerate that at all. Well, David knew that he could not just walk back into some Israelite city and say, "Yo, here I am, your new king." It would take some time, and David needed wisdom from God. And in time, David did become king. Wow, it's been such a long time coming. Finally, the promise of God had come true. Now what, David? You won. You're king. You are in charge. People are going to have to do whatever you say. Maybe you can find and punish those rats that used to tell Saul where you were hiding. He could have done that. And no one could have stopped him. That would have made him a poor winner. David, however, was a good winner. Instead of making himself rich and famous, he decided to use his time as king to do good things for the people of his country. One time, he asked a servant to see if he could find some living relative of King Saul. Somebody was found. In fact, it was Prince Jonathan's son. His name was Mephibosheth. He had been crippled in both feet since he was just a little guy, when his caregiver dropped him as she was running to get to a safe place. Mephibosheth was old enough now that he knew about his grandfather, King Saul, chasing the now King David all over the place for no good reason. And he fully expected that David found him so he could have him killed. David surprised Mephibosheth. "Because of your father, Prince Jonathan, my best friend," David said, "I want to do something good for you. For the rest of your life, I'm going to treat you like you are my son. You can live in my palace, and you can eat all of your meals at my table with me. And I am going to restore all the property that belonged to your father and your grandfather." Shocking! David, who had won, was not acting like he was all that and a bag of Doritos. He was kind and good to people. Yep, David was a good winner. He remembered what it had been like when life was hard for him, and he intended to make life better for someone who had experienced some tough times. So guys, as we end our lessons on David, we can end on a good note. When Saul was mean to David, David was kind. And when David won the throne and became king, he was still kind. Ephesians 4:32 is a verse for all of us. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving one another, just as in Christ God forgave you. Bye-bye, guys. I will see you the next time.